Good morning, students. How are you all? Hope all of you are fit and fine at home and doing your studies as well. So with this, let's start our today's social science class. And in social science, we are studying subject history. Yes, and in subject history, what we are studying? We are studying history, chapter 3, in the earliest cities. Yes, we are studying chapter 3 of history in the earliest cities. Yes, and in this, what are the topics which we have discussed? The topics in the earlier class which we have discussed is the life in the Harappa cities. We have discussed about the life in the Harappa cities. We have discussed how people are living in the cities, how they are having house in the cities, and how they are constructing their house, how they are bringing the raw materials. Yes, and how the new crafts in the Harappa cities. We have also discussed that what are the craft persons making in the Harappa cities, or which kind of ornaments, jewelries they are making, and what type of toys, like in Harappa city they are making the toys from terracotta. Yes, they are making terracotta toys. Terracotta is a clay, right? And they are also making the ornaments from faience. Yes, they are also making the ornaments from faience. Yes, so this, and it faience is of blue color and sea green color. Yes, so we have already discussed the life in the Harappa city, and we have discussed about the new crafts in the Harappa city. Now today we will discuss about the raw material, that from where these people of Harappa cities were searching raw materials, from where they were bringing the raw materials. So first of all, we should know what is a raw materials. So raw materials are substances that are either found naturally, such as wood or ore of metals, or produced by farmers or herders. So what is raw material? Raw materials are substances, yes, that are either found naturally like wood or ores of metals, or they are produced by farmers or the herders. Yes, these are then processed to produce finished goods. So when we use, we convert this raw material into some products that are known as finished goods. These are then produced to produce finished goods. For example, cotton produced by farmers. Yes, cotton is produced by farmers, and cotton is a raw material, and that may be processed to make a cloth. So cotton is used as a raw material, and from cotton a cloth is being processed, a product like cloth is being made. Now you understood what are raw materials? While some of the raw materials that the Harappans used were available locally, many items such as copper, tin, gold, silver, precious stone had to be bought from distant places. So in Harappan cities, mainly the things which the items which they were requiring was available in the city only, in the local market only. But some of the items such as copper, tin, gold, silver, and some of the precious stones have to be bought from some other places, from some different places. The Harappan probably got copper from present-day Rajasthan and even from Oman in West Asia. So the Harappan people probably bring the copper from Rajasthan, right, and even from Oman in West Asia. So this is copper, and this copper is being bought by the Harappan people from Rajasthan or even from Oman in West Asia. Tin, which was mixed with copper to produce bronze, may have been bought from present-day Afghanistan and Iran. So, tin is mixed with the copper to produce bronze. Bronze is an alloy of tin and copper. Bronze is made by mixing tin and copper, and the Harappan people bring bronze from Afghanistan and Iran. Gold could have all the way from present-day Karnataka and precious stone from present-day Gujarat, Iran and Afghanistan. So for gold was bought by the Harappan people. Maybe the gold have been bought from present-day from the Karnataka, and precious stones were being bought from Gujarat and Iran and Afghanistan by the people of Harappa. Now there is a question, how were goods carried from one place to another? Now the question will be arising in your mind also, that ma'am, how these raw materials would be taken from one place to another, how they were bringing the raw material from one place to another. So the answer is, most of the things were carried on the backs of the pack animals such as cattle or by people. So most of the things were bought either on the back of the animals or such as cattle or by the people. Yes. Now there is an illustration. What is the illustration? Look at the illustration. One shows a toy and the other is a seal. So you can see a toy and a seal. So this illustration you can see, and in this illustration can you suggest what the modes of transport used by the Harappan people were? So you can suggest, would you be able to give me the answer that what were the modes of the transport used by the Harappan people, Harappans at that time? Yes, anyone can give me the answer of this. The answer is, the modes of transport used by Harappans were boats and ships, which traveled the sea and the river channels. So the mode of transport used by the Harappans were boats and ships. They were using boats and ships which traveled by the seaway and the river channels. Yes. So this is the way. Did you come across illustrations of wheeled vehicles in earlier lessons? Yes, give me the answer. Did you come across illustrations of wheeled vehicles in earlier lessons? No, there are no illustrations of wheeled vehicles in the earlier lesson, because we have not studied in our earlier lessons about any wheeled vehicles. So if anyone is asking, did you come across illustrations of wheeled vehicles in earlier lessons? So the answer will be no. There are no illustrations of wheeled vehicles in the earlier lessons. Now we will move to the food for people in the cities. So what was the food the people were eating in these Harappan cities? While many people lived in the cities, others living in the countrysides grew crops and reared animals. So many of the people lived in cities, and others which were living towards the countryside, towards the villages, they were growing crops and rearing animals. These farmers and herders supplied food to craftspersons, scribes and rulers in the cities. So what these farmers were doing when they are growing crops and they were rearing animals, so these farmers and herders were supplying food to craftsperson who were making the crafts, who were making the items from there with the help of hands. So craftsperson are those people only. So they were supplying the food to the craft persons. Scribes were the people who were making the seals and who were writing on the seals, who were studying what this seal means, and the rulers who were taking part in the construction of the special buildings in the cities. So these farmers and herders were supplying foods to the craft persons, scribes and rulers in the cities. Yes. We know from remains of plants that the Harappans grew wheat, barley, pulses, peas, rice, sesame, linseeds and mustard. So the Harappan people were growing wheat, barley, pulses, peas, rice, sesame, linseeds and mustards. And how they were growing these crops? They were growing these crops with the help of, when they were storing the water, and they were storing this water, and when they were growing these crops, they were using the stored water for growing these crops. A new tool, the plough, was used to dig the earth for turning the soil and planting seeds. So a new type of tool was used at this time when in the Harappan cities, that it was the plough. And what is a plough? was used to dig the earth. It was used to dig the earth for turning the soil and planting the seed. This is a plow. While real plows, which were probably made of wood, have not survived, toy models have been found. So the real plows are not being survived by the archaeologists when they were finding about the past, but there were some toy models have been found. So by that only they come to know that the new tool, a plow, was used to dig the earth for turning the soil and planting the seeds. As this region does not receive heavy rainfall, some form of irrigation may have been used. So, as we all know that this region does not receive heavy rainfall, some forms of irrigation may have been used. Yes, because this whole area is nearby the desert area, Gujarat, yes, Gujarat, and the this Pakistan, yes. So these all areas are nearby receiving very not receiving very heavy rainfall. So some forms of irrigation may have been used. And what is irrigation? When we grow crops, we require water for growing crops, and that water is known as irrigation. When we plant the seeds, when we grow the crops, we require the water in large form, and that form is known as irrigation. This means that water was stored and supplied to the fields when the plants were growing. So this means that the water was stored and supplied to the fields when the plants were growing. The Harappans reared cattle, sheep, goats, and buffaloes. So the Harappan people were rearing cattle, sheep, goats, and buffaloes. Water and pastures were available around settlements. So where they were rearing cattle, sheep, goat, and buffalo, and where they were living. So these people were having the water around that place, and they were also having pastures. And what are pastures? We will see what are pastures. You can see these are the animals which the Harappan people were rearing, like cattle, sheep, goat, and buffalo. And the water and pastures were available around settlements. We will understand what is pastures. What is pastures? A pasture is a field where animals such as horse and cattle can graze or feed. So what is a pasture? A pasture is a field where animals, so a pasture is a field where animals such as horses and cattle can graze or feed. So this area, this land, this field you can see down, and here animals or horses are and the cattle are grazing. They are here, they are brought here to graze, to eat the food, to take the nutritions for their growth. Now, however, in the dry summer months, large herds of animals were probably taken to greater distances in search of grass and water. So, however, we know that there is very less rainfall in these regions. So, in dry summer months, a large herd of animals were probably taken to greater distance, to longer distance in search of grass and water. They also collected fruits like bear, caught fishes, and hunted wild animals like the antelope. Now we will take a closer look on Harappan town in Gujarat and about Dholavira. The city of Dholavira was located on Khadir Bet, also spelled as Bet, in the run of Kutch, where there were fresh water and fertile soil. So where is Dholavira? With the help of circle I have shown you. So the city of Dholavira was located on Khadir Bet, also spelled as Bet, in the run of Kutch, where there was fresh water and fertile soil available in this city. Unlike some of the other Harappan cities which were divided into two parts, Dholavira was divided into three parts, and each part was surrounded with massive stone walls with entrance through gateways. So this was a structure of the Harappan town in Gujarat. There was also a large open area in the settlement where public ceremonies could be held. So in Dholavira, there were large open areas in the settlement where the people were living and where public ceremonies were held. So this is Dholavira. So a closer look of Harappan town in Gujarat about Dholavira, there were other findings also which the archaeologists have done. And what was that? It was that there were some large letters of Harappan scripts found that were carved out of white stone and perhaps inlaid in wood. So the archaeologists found a Harappan script written in large letters, and that these scripts were carved on white stone, and then it was inlaid in wood. So it was just a kind of seal. Yes, this is a unique find, as generally Harappan writing has been found on small objects such as seals. So it was a unique finding by the archaeologists, because generally the Harappan writings which the archaeologists have been found was small objects such as seal. On the small objects, the such as seal, as the Harappan writing was written. But here they found that a large letters of Harappan script was carved on white stones, and then it was inlaid in woods in Dholavira, like this. Now we will study about the another Harappan town in Gujarat, that is Lothal. The city of Lothal stood beside a tributary of Sabarmati in Gujarat, close to the Gulf of Kambat. So where is Lothal? Lothal is, I have shown you with the help of circle. The city Lothal stood beside a tributary of the Sabarmati river in Gujarat, close to the Gulf of Kambat. It was situated near areas where raw materials such as semi-precious stones were easily available. So here in Lothal, all the semi-precious stones were available. This was an important center for making objects out of stone, shells and metal. So it was an important center. Lothal was an important center for making objects out of stones, shells and metal. There were also a storehouse in the city. So there was also a storehouse in the city Lothal. Many seals and sealings, the impression of seal on clay. So what is seal and sealing? Sealing is an impression of seals on clay, were found in this storehouse. So in this storehouse, the archaeologists found many seals and sealings. Sealings means the impression of seals on clay, were found in this storehouse. So this is Lothal city. Now a building that was found here was probably a workshop for making beads. So a building which was found by the archaeologists here in Lothal was probably a workshop for making beads, because they have found here pieces of stones, half-made beads, tools for bead making and finished beads also have also been found here. So by this finding, the archaeologists thought that this building would most be probably a workshop for making beads. Now what is seal and sealings? Seals may have been used to stamp bags or packets containing goods that were sent from one place to another. So why was seal used? Seals have been used to stamp bags. So it was used to stamp the bags or packets which were containing goods or raw material when they were sent from one place to another. After a bag was closed or tied, a layer of wet clay was applied on the knot and the seal was pressed on it. So how it was sealed? So after a bag was closed or tied, what was done? A layer of wet clay was applied on the knot of the bag, and then the seal was pressed on it, so that the seal, when the seal is there, the packet or the goods can be sent from one place to another. This is a clay, and on this clay the seal has been applied. The impression of the seal is known as a sealing. So when the impression of the seal is being done on the clay, that is known as sealing. If the sealing was intact, one could be sure that the goods had arrived safely. So if the seal is intact, if the seal is not broken, it is there, then it was imagined that one could be sure that goods have been arrived safely. Though no one has touched the goods, no one has done any damage to the goods. Seals are used even today. Find out what they are used for. So seals are used today also. Find out what they are used for. Can you find, students? Yes? Let's see. Seals are applicable in stamping bags as well as packets that contain different goods that are sent from one place to another. Yes, in the past, seals were important, especially when creating positive prints with ancient traders. That no one has touched the goods. That was a positive prints which was being created with the ancient traders, that the seal has been put it and the goods are intact, they are not being touched by or damaged by anyone. And in the modern days, seals are still used in ceramics as well as clay tags for sealing the rope across the bundle of goods. So if the bundles of goods are there, seals are still also used in ceramics as well as clay tags. Seals can also be used for wrapping envelopes or containers wrappers. So seals are also used today in today's time for wrapping envelopes or containers wrappers. So now you understood why seals are today also used. Now dockyard at Lothal. So there was a dockyard also at Lothal. This huge tank may have been a dockyard where boats and ships came in from the sea and through the river channel. So in Lothal there was a huge tank that may be a dockyard where boat and the ships come in from the sea and through the river channels to when the raw materials from was bought from one place to another. So this dockyard was used by the boats and ships to bring the goods from one place to another. So goods were probably loaded and unloaded here. And what is the huge tank which was found in the Lothal, which was dockyard? This was a huge tank which was found in Lothal city. So now students, we have discussed about the what we have discussed today. We have discussed today about the life of the people in Harappan cities. We have discussed about the new art of the people in the Harappan cities, and we have discussed the raw material, how the people were searching the raw material for the Harappan cities from different places, how they were bringing the raw material and then converting the raw material into finished goods. And we have also discussed about two cities of Harappan town in Gujarat, that was Lothal and yes, Dholavira. Yes, so we have also discussed about the two cities. By this, just see this video once again and just try to understand the cities in the earlier time in the Harappan civilization. Yes, till then, be safe and take care of yourself. Thank you and have a nice day, students.